reach out to the Latino community to help empower them, support them, learn how to become more integrated into the local community. And at the same time, we reach out to the local Anglo community and try and build bridges between the two and let people know which resources are available, and also let the other side know what the needs are and try and put people together. I believe that our biggest effort so far, and which has the most ongoing potential as well as the furthest outreach, is our family literacy program, where we actually provide tutoring services to children within their homes, and at the same time bring the parents into the schools when we provide them with ESL language services. And that has become the basis for our community outreach, our legal outreach, because the Latino family is so family-oriented that once we build that trust and build those connections, that forms the basis for our other efforts as well.
During the academic year, tutors and myself, we will visit a family once a week, and we go into the homes because for many reasons we wanted to work in the homes. Culturally, that's where the Latino family is based, and it eliminates the need for transportation, and we want to model the behavior of doing the homework in the homes for the parents. So that's why we call it family literacy, so that everybody's involved. But everybody makes a home visit during the week. It takes about an hour. And during the academic year, we focus on homework assignments, and then we also work on any skills that need strengthening, whether it be basic math facts or reading comprehension, any kind of thing that's school related. Right now we have 33 active volunteers, and I also work with children during the week, and we serve approximately 100 children or 60 families every week. We're always looking for more volunteers. We have a current waiting list of about 20 to 30 children at any given time. And we get referrals from the schools on a regular basis, and the families also self-refer. If they know that you're in the neighborhood, a lot of times they'll show up in the house and say, well, can you see my child too? So we're always looking for volunteers. And you don't need to speak Spanish, you don't need to have prior experience, and we provide training. So it's something that anybody can do. You have to be 18 or older. But it's a wonderful experience if you want to just, find out about a different culture and really help in a positive and ongoing way.
You get that feeling of doing something that is crucial and important and appreciated. And the value to the families is they become more a part of the community and their children have more confidence. The value to the schools is we are providing a service that the schools do not have the funds or times to provide, and they are acutely aware of the fact that the growing English language learning population has special needs and requires additional services. And so we are filling a gap there as well.
I think it's something that's going to pay back years and years and years ahead. Just that hour visit might make the difference between somebody staying in school and somebody dropping out of school. And just creating that understanding also between the Anglo and the Latino community here, so that we can all feel like we're part of one community rather than two separate communities.
Over 120 students from 28 different countries attend College of the Albemarle 4 campus locations. While the majority of the international students attend their campus, there are international students at every campus of COA. These international students bring unique experience and add much valued cultural diversity to COA. But how do the students become COA students?
International students attending COA are in the United States on F1 student visas. In the United States, the F1 visas are a type of non-immigrant student visa that allows international students to pursue education in US.
There are 2 different ways international students can apply for F1 status. The first is by requesting an F1 visa from the US consulate or embassy in their home country. Students can learn more about that process from the COA website or the US Embassy in their home country.
The second way international students can apply for F1 student status is that students currently in the United States on another visa type may request a change of status. This means that students currently in the United States on visas such as J1 or B2 can request to change their status to F1. For the students who are interested in doing such a thing, a series of steps must be completed.
First, an international student interested in attending COA must complete an application online. Students can find the admissions application at www.albemarle.edu, then should select Apply and Register. From there, international students should select the international option as listed.
The second step to the change of status process is for students to attend a Connect session. Connect sessions is where students learn about COA and the different programs and classes offered. Students are also registered to take the placement test while at the Connect session.
The third step is a placement test. All COA students and international students required to take a placement test. You're supposed to earn the necessary score for applying for F1 visa. You will learn more about your placement test during your connection session.
Students should next gather the necessary documentation to complete the change of status. The list of documents can be found on COA International Student webpage. Some of the documents required are your valid visa, your passport, an I-539 change of status application, a sponsor letter, and a sponsor financial documentation.
Sponsors are very important for international students to become students at College of the Albemarle. Anyone can sponsor an international student. It can be someone from the United States or someone from a student's home country. To be a sponsor must write a letter of sponsorship stating why they want to help a student in their quest to become an international student in the United States. The second thing a sponsor must do is they must have at least $17,000 in their bank account for each of the last 3 consecutive months. Many people ask why $17,000. $17,000 is the approximate amount it costs for an international student who would be an out-of-state student at College of the Albemarle to attend college and live in the area. One important thing to note is United States businesses cannot serve as sponsors for international students.
Once students have all their documents and sponsor information, they should request a meeting with College of the Albemarle designated school official. After meeting with DSO, the student will submit their request to change their status to the United States Customs and Immigration Service. Then they can work with COA advisor to register for classes. For more information, students should look on an international student webpage or talk to the designated school official.
Nature-based infrastructure in some ways sounds like an oxymoron. When you think of infrastructure, you might think of a bridge or a road, and when you think of nature, you think of trees. But nature-based infrastructure is infrastructure that is set aside or exists already in terms of being a part of nature that provides services to people. So we build a bridge and it allows us to go across the water. Nature-based infrastructure could be something like an oyster reef that is a breakwater and reduces wave energy, and also is an area where nutrients tend to be removed by microorganisms that occur naturally. So if you understand how natural systems work and the qualities that they have, you have the potential to use them as a tool to fight degradation of ecosystems. So in areas that you've lost salt marshes or oyster reefs, there is a potential to restore them, or in areas where you still have them, the potential to preserve them. And so this idea of nature-based infrastructure, understanding how nature works and trying to design remedial approaches that use those natural structures is one that's growing in popularity and also in effectiveness. The site where we are today is an example of a shoreline that used to not have oyster reefs, and in this project we restored this reef and have since been using it as an experimental site. And so we measure how this reef functions and how it compares to natural systems, and then that can give you an expectation as you either restore or preserve sites in other settings as to what return you're going to get in terms of function and in terms of ecosystem services. So in doing this, we got a large amount of oyster shell and also a bunch of salt marsh plants, Spartina alterniflora, and several summers ago planted it and placed it here on the water side of the Institute of Marine Sciences. And because we are scientists, we of course had to follow its progression, and we've been able to see how it's changed in terms of its morphology and also how its function has changed. Our research in oyster reefs has shown that they are important sites for nitrogen removal, and that this nitrogen removal property is also present when they are restored systems. Nitrogen is very important in coastal areas because it limits primary production. So when there's too much nitrogen, you can end up with too much algae in the water, and that's a problem called eutrophication. And so eutrophication is conventionally combated using things like wastewater treatment plants and stormwater management to limit the amounts of nitrogen introduced into the environment. Nature-based infrastructure is great because you can use these natural systems to promote conditions that remove nitrogen. The idea of nature-based infrastructure is very important as you consider your overall plan as a coastal community. It's important because you need to value natural systems that you already have in place, and remember that whether or not you're actually realizing those dollars, they are providing you value. So an example of a park that has a marsh adjacent to it or an oyster reef adjacent to it, that park by some people might be seen as not providing any value beyond the recreation, but in fact it does. The other thing that can be considered is that many of these nature-based approaches are cost-effective. So if you restore an oyster reef or create a salt marsh, you may be providing services at a cost that would be very favorable compared to something like a wastewater treatment plant or stormwater treatment. So it can provide alternatives for gray infrastructure, for conventional engineering solutions. And the more we understand about natural systems, the better we can plan to use these nature-based solutions in an effective way.